5 plants, all consumed daily across cultures that never stopped using them. 1 grows on trees across the tropics for pennies. 1 spreads through wet soil across Asia on its own. 1 fruits from a bucket of coffee grounds. 1 has been eaten as porridge across Eastern Europe and Japan for centuries. And 1 grows as a common weed that most gardeners pull out and throw away. By the end of this video, you will know all 5 and why they have never appeared on your supplement shelf. The first one has probably been sitting in every international grocery store you have ever walked through. The global anti-aging industry generated over $60 billion last year. Collagen peptide powders at $30 to $50 a jar. Vitamin C serums at $40 to $70 an ounce. Brain-boosting capsules with price tags climbing into the hundreds. Every one of these products is trying to do what your body already knows how to do on its own. Your body builds collagen every day. It is the most abundant protein in your skin, your joints, your hair, and your nails, but it needs one specific raw material to keep the production line running. Without it, the whole system stalls. That raw material is vitamin C. Not synthetic ascorbic acid pressed into a tablet, the whole natural form found inside living fruit. And there is one fruit that delivers it at a concentration so high, it makes every other source look like a rounding error. Grandmothers in Oaxaca have been brewing tea from its leaves every morning for generations. Street vendors in Mumbai sell it for a few rupees from wooden carts, and the collagen industry has never once mentioned its name. The fruit is guava. Cut one open and the flesh is bright, vivid, pink, dense, and fragrant, packed with tiny seeds in a starburst at the center. In India, they call it amrud. In Mexico, they call it guayaba. In Brazil, it is one of the most commonly eaten fruits in the country. It costs almost nothing, and 100 grams contains roughly 228 milligrams of vitamin C. 100 grams of orange contains about 53, more than 4 times the concentration from a fruit that costs a fraction of the price. Here is why that number changes everything about your skin. Your body manufactures collagen using 2 specific enzymes. Those enzymes cannot function without vitamin C present. It is not optional. It is the required raw material. You can drink collagen shakes every morning and apply retinol creams every night. You can spend hundreds of dollars a month on serums and supplements, but if the basic building block is missing, the assembly line stalls. Guava floods your system with that building block at a concentration no other common fruit can match. 1 fruit, 1 serving, and your body has everything it needs to build collagen the way it was designed to. And it does not stop at building new collagen. Every time you walk outside, your skin absorbs ultraviolet radiation that activates enzymes to break down the collagen you already have. Guava fights this from 2 directions. The pink flesh contains lycopene, the same compound found in tomatoes, working as an internal sun shield that reduces UV damage from the inside every time you eat it. And the leaves contain compounds that directly block the enzyme responsible for tearing apart collagen after sun exposure. The fruit builds new collagen. The leaf protects existing collagen, both from the same plant. Guava also contains ellagic acid, which targets dark spots and uneven skin tone, the blotchy patches that appear on hands and faces after years of sun exposure. Ellagic acid calms down the overproduction of melanin in skin cells. It does not bleach. It regulates from the inside every time you eat the fruit. Now here is where guava goes beyond skin entirely. A flavonoid called quercetin crosses the blood-brain barrier and reaches the neurons responsible for memory. It protects them from the damage that accelerates cognitive decline. Guava leaf also inhibits the enzyme that breaks down the neurotransmitter your brain needs for memory and recall. That is the same mechanism used by 2 of the most commonly prescribed Alzheimer's medications. Those drugs cost hundreds per month. The guava leaf does a version of the same thing naturally from a tree on your patio. Here's where the practical side gets exciting because this is one of the easiest anti-aging tools you will ever use. Eat it fresh. Wash it and bite into it the way you would eat an apple. Skin, seeds, everything is edible. Pink-fleshed varieties give the highest lycopene, so look for those specifically. One guava in the morning delivers more vitamin C than most people get from all other sources in an entire day. Slice it into a fruit salad with mango and lime. Blend it into a smoothie with yogurt and spinach. Juice it straight on an empty stomach. Add chunks to overnight oats. Freeze slices and blend into sorbet. Every option delivers the same collagen building power without a single pill or powder. Brew the leaves as tea. Grandmothers across Mexico, Brazil, and the Caribbean have done this for hundreds of years. 5 to 7 fresh or dried leaves in hot water for 10 minutes. Strain and drink. No capsule, no subscription, just leaves and hot water. Mash fresh guava into a paste and use it as a face mask for 15 to 20 minutes. Women across the Caribbean and Southeast Asia have done this for generations. Or brew the leaf tea, let it cool, and use it as a toner with a cotton pad after cleansing. Combine guava with other vitamin C-rich foods to compound the effect. Bell peppers, kiwi, strawberries, stack with zinc and copper from pumpkin seeds and dark chocolate because those minerals are also required for collagen enzyme function. Pair with protein-rich meals since your body needs amino acids as the building blocks that vitamin C helps assemble. The most effective collagen strategy is not a single product. It is a pattern of eating that supplies every raw material at once. Guava anchors the pattern by delivering the most critical ingredient at the highest concentration available. Growing your own supply is straightforward. Guava thrives outdoors year-round in warm climates. In colder regions, grow it in a large pot and bring it inside when temperatures drop. Dwarf varieties stay 4 to 6 feet tall and fruit on a sunny balcony. Full sun, well-drained soil. A grafted start produces fruit within 2 to 3 years. Leaves are available year-round for tea, even when the tree is not fruiting. One tree produces dozens of fruit every season for decades. The total cost is less than 1 jar of collagen powder. 4 more plants have been identified across traditional medicine systems around the world and confirmed in published research. Walk into a pharmacy on a side street in Bangkok tonight. Behind the wooden counter, you will see dried leaves in glass jars sitting beside turmeric and lemongrass. Thai grandmothers buy these leaves every week. They brew them into a morning tea. They crush them into a paste and smooth it onto their skin before bed. They have done this for generations. They are not buying collagen creams from department store counters. They are growing their own collagen supply in clay pots beside their front doors. Fly to Seoul, South Korea. Walk into any Olive Young beauty store on a busy shopping street. One entire aisle is dedicated to products built around a single plant extract. Bright green packaging lines the shelves from floor to ceiling. Korean women spend billions on creams and serums and sheet masks featuring this one ingredient. The name is printed on every third product. Western tourists walk through that aisle without any idea what they are looking at. Now visit a village in the central highlands of Sri Lanka. Children sit at wooden tables eating breakfast before school. Their mothers have mixed fresh green leaves into a rice porridge called kola kenda. This is not medicine. This is a Tuesday morning. The same way an American child eats oatmeal, these children eat a plant that triggers collagen production in human skin cells. In India, Ayurvedic practitioners have prescribed this herb for skin healing and wound repair for longer than Western medicine has existed as a discipline. Ancient Sanskrit texts describe it as a plant of longevity. Healers in Kerala and Tamil Nadu mixed it into oils and poultices for burns, scars, and aging skin. The records fill thousands of pages in manuscripts that Western researchers never translated. Here is the first clue that something went wrong. You know retinol, you know hyaluronic acid, you know vitamin C serums, and niacinamide and peptides. These ingredients sit in every Western drugstore. But this plant, used by more people than all of those ingredients combined, does not exist in Western skincare consciousness. Most Americans have never heard any of its names. The problem begins with language. Thai healers call it bua bok. Koreans call it byongpul, which means soldier grass. In India, it is Brahmi. In China, it is Ji Shui Kao. Western beauty brands shortened it to a single word, CICA, 5 names for one plant. No unified identity in Western languages. Compare this to retinol, one name, one globally marketed ingredient backed by decades of English language research and billions of dollars in advertising. When an ingredient has one name, it gets one shelf position, one reputation, one place in every dermatologist's recommendation. This plant never received that unification. Each encounter with it felt foreign. Each culture kept its own name. The fragmentation was not intentional. The result was total erasure from Western shelves, Western textbooks, and Western bathrooms. The ancient record tells a completely different story. In India, over 2,000 years ago, scholars compiled some of the earliest medical texts in human history. This plant appears in those pages. Healers described using the leaves to repair wounds and regenerate damaged skin. They considered it essential for longevity and mental clarity. Yogis in the Himalayas consumed it before meditation to sharpen the mind. The herb was not obscure. It was foundational to an entire medical tradition. In traditional Chinese medicine, physicians documented it as a wound healer and circulation stimulant. Chinese herbalists considered it one of the keys to a long life. The reverence lasted centuries across dynasties and never faded. But the most striking piece of history comes not from any medical text. It comes from observation. Across Southeast Asia, village healers watched wounded tigers in the jungle seek out patches of this specific plant. The animals rolled in its leaves. The wounds healed faster than expected. Villagers gave the plant a new name, tiger grass. They began applying the crushed leaves to their own cuts, burns, and aging skin. The observation was not scientific, but the practice worked. It continued for centuries without interruption. In 1942, French physicians working in Madagascar developed a pharmaceutical wound healing treatment from an extract of this plant. That product became a licensed medicine used in hospitals across Europe for the next 80 years. Western medicine quietly turned this plant into a pharmaceutical product. But no one ever told Western consumers they could grow the source plant themselves in a pot on their windowsill for less than $5. There is a reason you have been kept waiting to hear the name. Once you hear it, you will realize that you have already seen it. You have walked past it in beauty stores. You have scrolled past it in ingredient lists. You have been paying for it in products without ever knowing what it was. The plant is Centella asiatica. In the West, the few people who recognize it call it go-to cola. In the beauty industry, it goes by Sika. In Asia, it has names in a dozen languages. But across every name and every culture, it does the same thing. It signals human skin cells to produce their own collagen. This is the ingredient that built the Korean skincare revolution. South Korean beauty exports to the United States grew by more than 50% in 2024 alone. Korean women were not chasing a trend. They were buying what their grandmothers already knew. The rest of the world is only now beginning to understand what 500 million people in Asia have understood for centuries. But there is a reason you need to understand what this plant actually does inside your body. Because once you see the science, you will never look at your bathroom cabinet the same way again. Here is what happens inside your skin. Centella asiatica contains 4 key compounds: asiaticoside, madecassoside, asiatic acid, and madecassic acid. These molecules do not sit on the surface of your skin the way a moisturizer does. They penetrate into the deeper layers and activate cells called fibroblasts. These are the cells responsible for building collagen. The plant tells your body to produce more of its own structural protein, not from a needle, not from a synthetic capsule, from your own cells. the way your body did naturally when you were 20 years old. Beyond collagen, the same compounds reduce inflammation, calm redness, strengthen the skin barrier, and speed up wound healing. In clinical testing, people using a centella-based treatment saw a significant reduction in pore size and skin roughness in just 15 days of regular application, one plant doing the work of an entire shelf of products. Now consider retinol, the ingredient that Western dermatology celebrates above all others. The retinol skincare market was valued at roughly $7 to $8 billion in 2024. It is the active ingredient in products that cost $50, $100, sometimes $200 per bottle. Retinol works, nobody disputes that. But retinol also causes irritation, peeling, redness, dryness, and increased sensitivity to sunlight. These side effects are so common that the skincare industry created an entire category of recovery products designed to repair the damage that retinol itself causes. Think about that for a moment. An industry selling you a second product to fix the problems created by the first. Researchers who tested Centella asiatica directly against retinoids found something remarkable. Centella improved wrinkles at comparable levels. Skin hydration increased with Centella, but did not increase with the retinoid treatment. And here's the number that should stop you cold. The Centella group reported roughly 1/3 the side effects of the retinoid group. Comparable wrinkle reduction, superior moisture, far fewer adverse reactions. The evidence has existed for years. Walk into any American pharmacy tonight and ask about Centella asiatica. The blank stare you receive tells you everything about where the money flows. So if the clinical evidence exists, if the plant performs as well as retinol with fewer side effects, why has no Western dermatologist ever told you to grow it? The answer is not medical. The answer is financial. The global skincare market reached $122 billion in 2025. It runs on one principle: ingredients that can be synthesized, patented, controlled, and sold at enormous markup. Retinol fits that model perfectly. It is manufactured in factories. Its formulations generate intellectual property. Encapsulated retinol, time-release retinol, buffered retinol. Each version creates a new product line. Each product line creates revenue. The complexity builds barriers to entry. The barriers protect profit margins. Now consider Centella asiatica. It is a creeping perennial herb that spreads through runners the way mint spreads without any help from the grower. A single starter plant purchased from a nursery for $3 to $5 fills a container within months. The fresh leaves can be crushed and applied directly to skin. No extraction technology required. No encapsulation patent needed. No factory, no supply chain, no subscription service. A plant that spreads itself cannot generate repeat sales. A leaf that works fresh cannot justify processing fees. A herb that anyone can grow on a windowsill cannot be controlled by a corporation. Centella asiatica does not threaten one skincare product. It threatens the entire model. What cannot be owned cannot be sold. What cannot be sold cannot be marketed. What cannot be marketed disappears from public awareness. 3 generations of Westerners grew up without ever hearing the name Centella asiatica, not because anyone hid it, because no one profited from revealing it. This is not a conspiracy. This is economics. Companies fund research that supports their products. They do not fund research that makes their products unnecessary. Search the major databases for retinol skincare studies and you will find thousands. Search for Centella asiatica and you will find a fraction of that number. The ratio exists not because retinol works better. It exists because retinol has corporate funding. Centella research comes primarily from Korean government labs, Thai university hospitals, and Indian research institutions. The knowledge exists. It just exists in languages and journals that the Western system historically ignored. Enough about the industry, let us talk about your windowsill. Centella asiatica grows outdoors year-round in USD A zones 7 through 11. In colder climates, it thrives as a houseplant or in containers brought inside for winter. It wants partial shade and consistently moist soil. Think of how it grows in the wild along the marshy edges of streams and rice paddies across tropical Asia. It wants moisture and gentle light. not blazing sun and bone-dry soil. Here's the setup. Get a wide, shallow pot at least 8 to 10 inches across. Fill it with standard potting mix. Plant a starter from a nursery or an online herb supplier for less than $5. Water it well and place it in a spot with indirect light, a kitchen windowsill, a shaded patio, or a bathroom shelf with natural light. Keep the soil consistently moist but not waterlogged. That is the entire process. The visual transformation is worth watching. Picture the pot in week 1, a small cluster of round, scalloped leaves that look like tiny lily pads on short green stems. By week 4, runners begin stretching outward across the soil surface like fingers reaching for the edges of the pot. By week 8, the container is half full with dense, low-growing foliage. By week 12, you are harvesting leaves regularly and the plant is producing faster than you can use it. Centella spreads through runners exactly the way mint does. In open garden beds, it will colonize any moist ground it reaches. In a container, it stays manageable and endlessly productive. One plant becomes 10. 10 become a permanent supply that requires no replanting, no reseeding, and no second purchase from anyone, ever. Harvest leaves anytime by snipping the stems with your fingers. The plant regenerates from the base within days. In warm climates, it grows year-round without slowing down. For cooking, Sri Lankan families mix fresh leaves into breakfast porridge every morning. Vietnamese cooks add the leaves to spring rolls and soups. In Thailand, street vendors juice the raw leaves into a cold green drink sold from carts along busy sidewalks in Bangkok and Chiang Mai. The taste is mild, slightly bitter, and refreshing. For skincare, the options are just as simple. Crush fresh leaves into a paste and apply it directly to your face as a mask. Steep leaves in jojoba or coconut oil for 2 weeks to create an infused facial oil. Brew the leaves into a strong tea, let it cool, and use it as a toner. Blend fresh leaves with aloe vera gel for a calming skin treatment. The active compounds are present in the living leaf. No laboratory required, no processing equipment, just a plant and your hands. Consider the math. The average American woman spends between $120 and $180 per year on anti-aging skincare. Many spend far more. That means retinol serums sitting in bathroom drawers, collagen powders stirred into morning coffee, vitamin C creams on nightstands, monthly subscription boxes arriving at front doors, shelves full of bottles with promises printed in elegant fonts. A Centella asiatica starter plant costs $3 to $5. It propagates itself forever. It provides fresh leaves for your skin and your kitchen and your tea for as long as you keep the soil moist. One purchase. Permanent supply. No refill, no subscription, no reorder. If supply chains fail, if shipping costs spike, if the beauty store down the road closes its doors, the plant on your windowsill does not notice. It keeps growing, it keeps spreading, it keeps producing the same leaves that Thai grandmothers, Korean beauty labs, and Sri Lankan mothers have relied on for longer than any skincare corporation has existed. The question was never why Asia hid this plant. Asia hid nothing. Walk through the Chatuchak market in Bangkok and you will see bundles of fresh centella leaves stacked in neat piles beside jasmine and galangal. Visit a beauty counter in the Myeongdong district of Seoul and every third product on the shelf features the word Sika in bold green letters. Step into an Ayurvedic clinic in Kerala and dried centella sits in plain glass jars alongside turmeric and ashwagandha. The knowledge was always there, always public, always available. The answer is not conspiracy. The answer is structure. Economic systems promote what benefits economic systems. Research follows funding. Funding follows patents. Patents require control. Centella asiatica cannot be controlled. It spreads, it roots, it naturalizes, it becomes wild, it becomes free. The plant you set on your windowsill this week will be producing leaves by next month. Those runners will fill the pot by summer. By next spring, you can split it into 5 containers and give them to your neighbors, your children, your friends, and every single morning that small green plant will offer you, for free, what the skincare industry spends billions convincing you to buy.
Walk into any Japanese home kitchen at dinner time. Watch the grandmother standing at the counter. She is slicing long brown roots into thin strips. The vegetable is gobo. The dish is kinpira-gobo, braised burdock with sesame and soy sauce. This meal appears in every Japanese home. It appears in every school cafeteria. It appears in every hospital meal tray. Japan consumes 140,000 tons of gobo annually. That equals 1.2 kilograms per person per year. This vegetable is as common in Tokyo as carrots are in Chicago. Travel to Seoul and visit the Gyeongdong market. Vendors display the same brown roots under the name ugong. Korean grandmothers brew it into medicinal tea. They slice it for stir-fries. They add it to samgyetang, the ginseng chicken soup served on the hottest days of summer. The root appears in both food stalls and pharmacy sections. Korean culture never separated food from medicine. The same ingredient serves both purposes. In Chinese medicine shops from Beijing to San Francisco's Chinatown, dried burdock root sits on wooden shelves labeled NIU Bang. Practitioners prescribe it for skin conditions, respiratory ailments, and blood purification. The documentation fills thousands of pages in texts that Western medical schools never assigned. Now consider America. The average supermarket carries over 400 produce items. Burdock appears in none of the mainstream grocery chains. Not Kroger, not Safeway, not Whole Foods, not Trader Joe's. The vegetable that Japanese grandmothers credit for their youthful skin does not exist in American consciousness. Here is the strangest part. The same plant grows wild across North America. It thrives in all 50 states. It grows in Canadian provinces. It grows in Mexican highlands. The United States Department of Agriculture classifies it as a noxious weed in multiple states. County extension offices publish guides on how to poison it. Americans spend money killing the exact plant that Japanese centenarians eat for longevity. The problem begins with names. In Japan, they call it gobo. In Korea, they call it ugong. In China, they call it niu bang. English speakers call it great burdock, edible burdock, or lapa. Botanists call it Arctium lapa. 5 names for one plant, and no unified identity. When a vegetable has no consistent name, it has no consistent presence in cookbooks, databases, or public awareness. The fragmentation was not intentional, but the result was erasure. The ancient record tells a different story. In China, around 200 AD, scholars compiled the Shenong Bencao Jing. This is the oldest surviving pharmacopoeia in human history. Burdock appears in its pages. Physicians use the seeds for respiratory ailments and the roots for digestive troubles. 2,000 years ago, Chinese doctors already understood this plant. 14 centuries later, a physician named Li Shizhen completed the Ben Cao Gang Mu. The year was 1578. Li Shizhen spent 27 years writing this encyclopedia of Chinese medicine. Burdock appears in 52 distinct formulations, more entries than ginseng, more entries than any other plant in the text. This was the most documented medicinal plant in Chinese history. Western researchers did not translate the complete text until 2003. 425 years of knowledge locked behind a language barrier. In Japan, burdock arrived during the Heian period, between 794 and 1185 AD. The Honzo Wamyo, completed in 918 AD, documented cultivation techniques. By the Edo period, which lasted from 1603 to 1868, gobo cultivation was mandatory in samurai households. Warriors believed the root built endurance for battle, and they ate it before training and before combat. The belief was not superstition. Modern research confirms burdock enhances physical stamina. During World War II, Japanese military commanders included gobo in field rations for soldiers. The root stores well without refrigeration, and it provides sustained energy, so it was practical military nutrition. But American prisoners of war did not recognize the vegetable. They had never seen or eaten burdock, and they interpreted the brown, fibrous roots as deliberate cruelty. After the war, Allied prosecutors nearly convicted Japanese officers of war crimes for feeding prisoners wood and tree roots. The officers had served their own staple food. The Americans could not conceive that this was nutrition rather than punishment. An entire war crimes tribunal nearly resulted from simple ignorance of a vegetable. The knowledge also existed in Europe, though we deleted it. Hildegard von Bingen, the German abbess who lived from 1098 to 1179, prescribed burdock for tumors and chest ailments. Nicholas Culpeper, the English herbalist, documented its uses in 1653. The United States Pharmacopoeia included burdock from 1831 to 1842. Then, medicine shifted towards synthetic compounds. The plant was removed. We erased our own knowledge. During the same century, we claim modern medicine began. Okinawa sits at the southern tip of Japan. Researchers call it a blue zone, one of 5 regions worldwide where people live measurably longer than average. Okinawa has 50 centenarians per 100,000 residents. The United States has 20. The Okinawan diet has been studied for decades. Gobo appears multiple times weekly in traditional meals. Local elders call it wakagairu yasai, the vegetable that makes you young again. They do not mean this metaphorically. They observe the results in their own skin, their own energy, their own decades of vitality. Modern science has identified why. The primary compound is arctigenin, a lignan found in high concentrations in burdock root. In 2016, researchers published a study in oxidative medicine and cellular longevity. They demonstrated that arctigenin activates AMPK, adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. AMPK is sometimes called the longevity switch. It is the same cellular pathway triggered by caloric restriction. Caloric restriction is the only intervention proven to extend lifespan in every species tested, from yeast to worms to mice to primates. Eating less activates AMPK and extends life, but humans find sustained caloric restriction nearly impossible. The hunger is constant. The willpower required is unsustainable. Arctigenin from burdock activates the same pathway without the hunger. Eating this vegetable triggers the same cellular mechanism as eating less. In 2008, researchers published a clinical trial in the journal Inflammopharmacology. They recruited human volunteers aged 20 to 65. They gave them burdock fruit extract for 1 week. They measured wrinkle depth before and after. They measured skin hydration before and after. After 7 days, participants showed significant improvement in both metrics: visible wrinkle reduction, measurable hydration increase. The mechanism involves an enzyme called hyaluronidase. This enzyme breaks down hyaluronic acid, the compound that keeps skin plump and hydrated. As we age, hyaluronidase activity increases. Hyaluronic acid degrades. Skin sags and wrinkles. The cosmetics industry sells hyaluronic acid serums for $80 per ounce. Consumers apply it externally, hoping it absorbs. Burdock works differently. Arstin, a compound in burdock, inhibits hyaluronidase directly. The skin retains its own hyaluronic acid rather than depending on external application. The vegetable costs less than $3 per pound. In 2019, researchers published findings in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology examining cellular senescence. Senescent cells are sometimes called zombie cells. They stop dividing but refuse to die. They accumulate in tissues as we age. They secrete inflammatory compounds that damage neighboring healthy cells. Senescent cell accumulation drives arthritis, cognitive decline, cardiovascular disease, and visible aging. Pharmaceutical companies are spending billions developing senolytic drugs to clear these zombie cells. Unity Biotechnology raised $300 million pursuing this approach. The 2019 study showed burdock extract reduces senescence markers in human fibroblasts by 34%. A root vegetable accomplishes what pharmaceutical companies are racing to patent. The research existed. The funding flowed elsewhere. Blood sugar regulation provides another documented benefit. In 2012, researchers published a clinical trial in Archives of Medical Science. They recruited patients with type 2 diabetes. They gave them burdock root extract for 30 days. Fasting blood glucose decreased by 18.7%. HbA1c, the marker of long-term blood sugar control, improved significantly compared to placebo. 2 mechanisms explain the effect. Burdock root contains 27 to 45% inulin by dry weight. Inulin is a prebiotic fiber that slows glucose absorption. Burdock also contains chlorogenic acid at concentrations of 1.2 to 1.8%, comparable to coffee beans. Chlorogenic acid inhibits glucose 6-phosphatase, further reducing blood sugar spikes after meals. Type 2 diabetes affects 37 million Americans. Annual treatment costs exceed $327 billion. A forgotten vegetable addresses the same metabolic pathways. Chronic inflammation underlies most diseases of aging. Heart disease, Alzheimer's, arthritis, cancer. Researchers have identified NF-kappa B as the master inflammatory switch. When chronically activated, it drives tissue damage throughout the body. Multiple studies confirm burdock inhibits NF-kappa B signaling. This single mechanism explains why traditional medicine used burdock for seemingly unrelated conditions: skin problems, joint pain, respiratory illness, digestive complaints. They all share inflammatory roots. The ancient physicians observed results they could not explain biochemically. Modern research confirms their observations. Search PubMed, the database of medical research. Type hyaluronic acid skincare. You will find over 3,400 studies. Now type burdock arctogenin skin. You will find 47 studies. The ratio is 72 to 1. This asymmetry does not reflect effectiveness. It reflects funding. Hyaluronic acid can be synthesized in laboratories. It can be patented in specific formulations. It can be packaged in serums and sold at premium prices. Each purchase generates revenue. Each revenue stream justifies further research funding. Burdock root cannot be patented. A vegetable that grows from seed in any backyard cannot generate intellectual property. What cannot be owned cannot be monetized. What cannot be monetized does not receive research funding. The knowledge gap is not conspiracy. It is economics. The anti-aging supplement market will reach $58 billion by 2025. Products include collagen peptides, NAD precursors, resveratrol, and nicotinamide riboside. Each product requires extraction, processing, formulation, quality control, bottling, and distribution. Each step adds cost and generates profit. A root vegetable that grows in 6 months and stores for a year generates no recurring revenue. No corporation benefits from telling you about burdock. The agricultural economics mirror that pattern. Burdock is a biennial plant. You plant seeds in year 1 and you harvest roots in year 2. If you allow one plant to flower before harvest, it produces 15,000 seeds with bird coatings. These burrs inspired George de Mestral to invent Velcro in 1941 after he noticed them stuck to his dog's fur during a Swiss hunting trip. The seeds self-sow aggressively. One planting becomes a permanent presence. The seed industry depends on annual purchases for crops such as corn, soybeans, wheat, lettuce, and tomatoes. Every crop that fills grocery shelves requires farmers to buy new seed each year. A biennial that self-seeds disrupts this model entirely. Burdock thrives in USDA hardiness zones 2 through 10. This covers virtually all of North America. It grows in Canadian provinces where winter temperatures reach -40 degrees. It also grows in Louisiana summer heat. It tolerates poor soil. In fact, it prefers soil that is loose and deep, but not overly fertile. Rich soil produces leafy growth at the expense of root development. The neglected corners of your garden grow better burdock than the amended raised beds. Direct SOW seeds in early spring, 1/4 of an inch deep. Space them 6 inches apart, in rows 24 inches apart. Germination takes 1 to 2 weeks. The first year produces only leaves. The second year produces roots ready for harvest. For faster results, harvest baby burdock at 10 to 12 weeks when roots are pencil thin and exceptionally tender. Dig roots in fall of the first year or early spring of the second year before the plant sends up a flower stalk. Roots reach 2 to 4 feet long in loose soil. Do not peel them. Nutrients concentrate in the skin. Scrub gently and slice thin. Store unwashed roots in sand or sawdust in a cool location for months. Slice and dry for tea that stores indefinitely. The flavor surprises first-time eaters, earthy and slightly sweet, similar to artichoke heart. The texture is crisp when raw, tender when braised. Kinpira gobo remains the classic preparation. Julienne the root into matchsticks. Sauté with a splash of soy sauce and a drizzle of sesame oil. The dish appears at every Japanese table for good reason. It tastes like comfort, Burdock tea requires only dried root slices simmered for 20 minutes. Traditional Korean families drink it after heavy meals to aid digestion. Add slices to soups and stews during the last 30 minutes of cooking. The root softens while releasing beneficial compounds into the broth. For those who want a perpetual supply, allow one plant to flower in its second year. The purple thistle-like blooms attract pollinators. The seeds mature in late summer. Let them scatter. Let them establish. The following spring, new burdock plants emerge without any action from you. Like the samurai households of Edo period Japan, you now have permanent infrastructure. The question was never why Japan hid this vegetable. Japan hid nothing. Every home kitchen uses gobo. Every child eats it at school lunch. Every grandmother attributes her skin to this root. The Tsukiji fish market in Tokyo sells mountains of it every morning. The knowledge was always public, always visible, always available to anyone who looked. The question is why Western systems failed to integrate what was openly shared. And the answer is structure, not conspiracy. A root vegetable that grows from seed cannot generate supplement industry revenue. A biennial plant cannot generate annual seed sales. A food that functions as medicine cannot be patented by pharmaceutical companies. What cannot be monetized becomes invisible to systems built on monetization. Burdock has grown across Asia for 2,000 documented years. It survived dynasties rising and falling. It survived the Mongol invasions. It survived world wars. It survived the pharmaceutical century. Right now, this same plant grows wild across 49 American states, labeled as invasive, targeted for eradication, sprayed with herbicides by homeowners who could be eating it instead. The vegetable does not care about quarterly earnings reports. It does not care about shareholder value. It cares only about reproduction, about spreading, about establishing itself in any soil that will accept it. For 2,000 years, burdock has pursued this single agenda. It has succeeded across 3 continents. It will continue succeeding long after current economic systems transform into something unrecognizable. The supplement companies will not tell you about burdock. The pharmaceutical researchers will not prioritize it. The grocery chains will not stock it. The agricultural extension offices will continue publishing guides on how to poison it. But you know now, the youth vegetable is not hidden. It is not exotic. It is not expensive. It is waiting in any garden that will have it. The choice of whether to plant it is now entirely yours. Have you ever seen these small triangular seeds or tasted soba noodles? Subscribe if you want to keep discovering what they never taught us. Walk into any soba restaurant in Tokyo tonight. Watch the chef pull fresh noodles from boiling water. Those noodles are not made from wheat. They are made from the seeds of a flowering plant in the same family as rhubarb, a plant called buckwheat. The Japanese have eaten these noodles for over 1,000 years. Buddhist monks in mountain temples noticed something. The people who ate buckwheat regularly kept their skin firm into old age. They documented this in texts that Western researchers never translated. In Russia, every grandmother knows how to make kasha. Kasha is buckwheat groats, toasted until fragrant, then simmered until tender. Russian families have eaten kasha for breakfast for 300 years. In the 1700s, physicians in the Volga region wrote observations in their journals. They noticed that populations that ate buckwheat showed different aging patterns than populations that ate wheat in the West. The skin stayed elastic longer, and the blood vessels stayed flexible. No one in Western Europe read those journals. In the mountains of Sichuan province in China, farmers grow a special variety called Tartary buckwheat. This variety contains rutin concentrations that reach 1,700 milligrams per 100 grams of flour. That is not a typo. 1,700 milligrams, the highest concentration ever measured in any common food. These mountain communities call it the longevity grain. They have called it that for centuries. Western nutrition databases still list it as a minor crop of limited interest. Here is the first thing you need to understand. Buckwheat is not wheat, and it is not related to wheat. It is not even in the same plant family as wheat. Wheat belongs to the grass family called Poaceae. Buckwheat belongs to the flowering plant family called Polygonaceae. This is the same family that includes rhubarb and sorrel. The evolutionary distance between buckwheat and wheat is greater than the distance between a dog and a dolphin. The name buckwheat comes from the Dutch word boekweit. Boekweit literally means beech wheat. In the 1500s, Dutch traders noticed that buckwheat seeds look similar to beech tree nuts. They used the word wheat loosely to mean any grain-like seed. That naming accident created a century of confusion. People with celiac disease avoided buckwheat because they thought it contained gluten. It does not. People with wheat allergies feared buckwheat because of its name, and they had no reason to fear it. The consequences of this naming error extend into modern medicine. Doctors who should know better still warn gluten-sensitive patients away from buckwheat. Nutritionists who should have studied the research still classify buckwheat alongside wheat in their recommendations. The name became a prison. The plant remained trapped inside a false identity for generations. Now, let me tell you about rutin. Rutin is a flavonoid compound. Flavonoids are plant chemicals that protect both the plant and the person who eats it. Rutin specifically protects blood vessels and skin tissue. It does this by inhibiting enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases. Researchers call them MMPs. Your body produces MMPs naturally. They break down collagen. This is normal. This is part of tissue remodeling. But here is the problem. As you age, MMP activity increases. The enzymes start breaking down collagen faster than your body can rebuild it. Sun exposure accelerates MMP activity. Pollution accelerates it. Stress accelerates it. The result is wrinkles, sagging skin, and weakened blood vessels. The collagen supplement industry exists because of this problem. They sell you collagen peptides to replace what the MMPs destroyed. Rutin offers a different solution. Instead of replacing collagen after destruction, rutin inhibits the enzymes that destroy collagen in the first place. A study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology in 2019 tested this directly. Researchers gave rutin to human subjects for 8 weeks. The treatment group showed significant improvement in skin elasticity. Wrinkle depth decreased measurably. The mechanism was MMP inhibition. Another study published in Phytotherapy Research in 2018 went further. Researchers exposed human dermal fibroblasts to buckwheat extract in laboratory conditions. Fibroblasts are the cells that produce collagen in your skin. The buckwheat extract increased type 1 collagen synthesis by 35% compared to controls. Here is where the 3-day window comes from. Research published in the European Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences in 2020 tracked rutin absorption in human subjects. Rutin from buckwheat reaches peak plasma concentration within 2 to 4 hours of consumption. The compound does not stay in your blood. It accumulates in tissues including skin. This accumulation continues over 48 to 72 hours of consistent consumption. A clinical study published in Nutrients in 2021 measured this directly. Participants consumed buckwheat daily for 72 hours. Researchers measured transepidermal water loss, a clinical marker for skin barrier function. The buckwheat group showed 18% improvement in skin hydration metrics within 3 days. The traditional observations from Buddhist monks and Russian physicians were correct. They simply lacked the instruments to measure what they observed. Let me take you back 8,000 years. Archaeologists working in the Yangtze River Valley in China excavated a site called Luojiabang in Zhejiang province. They found pollen samples preserved in ancient soil layers. The pollen was from buckwheat plants. The dating was unambiguous. Farmers in this region cultivated buckwheat 6,000 years before the Common Era. This makes buckwheat one of the oldest domesticated crops in human history. The cultivation spread along trade routes. By 500 years before the Common Era, buckwheat grew across Central Asia. Traders carried seeds along what would later become the Silk Road. The plant proved remarkably adaptable. It grew in poor soils that rejected wheat. It matured in 70 to 90 days, allowing harvests in short growing seasons. It required no irrigation in most climates. For mountain communities and northern farmers, buckwheat was not a secondary crop. It was survival. In Japan, buckwheat arrived during the Nara period between 710 and 794 of the Common Era. Buddhist monks adopted it quickly. The monks observed dietary restrictions that limited their protein sources. Buckwheat provided complete protein, all 9 essential amino acids, in a form they could eat without violating their vows. The temples became centers of buckwheat cultivation and soba noodle making. The craft of soba making evolved over centuries. Different regions developed distinct styles. Shinshu soba from Nagano Prefecture, Izumo soba from Shimane Prefecture, Tokyo-style soba with its emphasis on texture and dipping sauces. Today, Japan consumes 115,000 metric tons of buckwheat annually. Soba restaurants operate in every city. The tradition never broke. In China, the scholar-physician Li Shizhen spent decades compiling the most comprehensive medical text of his era. He finished the Compendium of Materia Medica in 1578. This text documented thousands of medicinal substances used in Chinese medicine. Buckwheat appears in its pages with specific applications. Li Shizhen wrote that buckwheat strengthens the sinews. He wrote that it restores youthful appearance to aging skin. He documented its effects on blood vessels and digestion. The compendium recorded observations that would echo for centuries. The language is historical. The observations are precise. Strengthening sinews means supporting connective tissue. Restoring youthful appearance means protecting skin elasticity. These are descriptions of collagen support, written 450 years before Western researchers identified rutin as an inhibitor of matrix metalloproteinases. Li Shizhen did not know the mechanism. He documented the result. In Russia, buckwheat became the defining staple of national cuisine. Kasha appears on tables from St. Petersburg to Vladivostok. Catherine the Great, who ruled from 1762 to 1796, promoted buckwheat cultivation as state agricultural policy. She understood that a crop which grew in poor soil and short seasons could feed populations that wheat could not reach. Soviet nutritional researchers in the 1960s conducted studies on buckwheat eating populations. They documented cardiovascular benefits that Western researchers would not confirm for another 40 years. The studies were published in Russian. They appeared in Soviet scientific journals. Western databases did not index Soviet research during the Cold War. The knowledge existed. It existed behind a language barrier that functioned as an information wall. In France, the region of Brittany developed its own buckwheat tradition. Galettes are buckwheat crepes, thin and crispy, filled with cheese or eggs or ham. Breton farmers grew buckwheat for centuries. The rocky soil of Brittany rejected wheat, but accepted buckwheat. The galette became regional identity. But something changed in the 1800s. Wheat became a prestige grain. White bread became a status symbol. The Industrial Revolution created factory systems optimized for wheat processing, roller mills, commercial bakeries, and distribution networks. The infrastructure investment locked in wheat advantage across Western Europe. Buckwheat could not make bread. The lack of gluten means buckwheat flour will not rise. It will not hold gas bubbles from yeast, and it cannot produce the soft loaves that urban consumers learned to prefer. The limitation was technical. The consequence was cultural. Buckwheat became peasant food, and the association hardened over generations. By 1900, educated Europeans considered buckwheat a relic of poverty. The erasure accelerated in the 20th century. Industrial agriculture measured success by yield per hectare. Wheat produces 3 to 4 tons per hectare under optimal conditions. Buckwheat produces 1 to 1.5 tons per hectare at maximum. The math appeared to favor wheat, but the calculation measured only volume. It ignored nutrient density completely. 100 grams of buckwheat flour contains 13 grams of protein with all essential amino acids. 100 grams of wheat flour contains 10 grams of protein, and it is low in lysine. Lysine is critical for collagen synthesis. Wheat cannot provide it in sufficient quantities, but yield calculations do not measure amino acid profiles. They measure tons per hectare, and that metric determined the outcome. The research funding gap reveals the structural bias. Search PubMed, the United States National Library of Medicine database. Type wheat into the search field. You will find over 145,000 published studies. Now type buckwheat. You will find 3,800 studies. The ratio is 38 to 1. This ratio does not reflect relative nutritional importance. It reflects relative economic importance to industries that fund research. Wheat breeding programs receive billions of dollars globally. Monsanto and Bayer and Syngenta invest in wheat genetics. Buckwheat improvement programs receive virtually no private funding. A crop that thrives without inputs attracts no input suppliers. A plant that needs no pesticides attracts no pesticide companies. A seed that farmers can save and replant attracts no seed companies. The collagen supplement industry reached $4.9 billion in global revenue in 2023. Marine collagen comes from fish. Bovine collagen comes from cattle. Chicken collagen comes from poultry. Synthetic collagen peptides come from laboratories. Every product requires industrial processing, extraction, hydrolysis, purification, encapsulation, quality control, and cold chain shipping. The complexity creates profit margins. The margins justify marketing budgets. The marketing teaches consumers that collagen must come from supplements. Now consider buckwheat. The rutin that inhibits collagen destruction comes in the whole food. No extraction required, no hydrolysis required, no encapsulation required. A farmer with buckwheat flour is not a customer for the supplement industry. A farmer with buckwheat flour is competition. The threat is structural. A patent cannot protect buckwheat. The plant has existed for 8,000 years. Prior art defeats any patent claim. A trademark cannot restrict buckwheat. The name belongs to common usage. Regulatory capture cannot limit buckwheat. It is food. The barriers that protect supplement industry profits do not apply to whole foods that consumers can grow themselves. The research gap is not conspiracy. It is economics. Companies fund research that supports their products. They do not fund research that makes their products unnecessary. Universities pursue grants from available funding sources. The available sources favor patentable interventions. Buckwheat is not patentable. The funding flows to other projects. The knowledge gaps persist. Let me show you what buckwheat actually contains. Analysis published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry in 2015 measured rutin concentrations across common foods. Common buckwheat contains between 12 and 36 milligrams of rutin per gram of flour, depending on variety and growing conditions. Tartary. Buckwheat contains up to 170 milligrams per gram. Compare this to wheat flour, which contains effectively zero rutin, and to oat flour, which contains trace amounts below detection thresholds. Buckwheat stands alone. The protein quality matches the rutin advantage. Research from Cornell University published in 1989 analyzed buckwheat protein digestibility. The biological value reached 93%. This means 93% of the protein you consume from buckwheat becomes available to your body. Eggs score 94%. Buckwheat nearly matches eggs for protein quality while providing rutin that eggs cannot provide. The amino acid profile explains why vegetarian populations across Asia relied on buckwheat for centuries. Lysine concentration reaches 5.8 grams per 100 grams of protein. Lysine is the limiting amino acid in most grain-based diets. It is also essential for collagen synthesis. Your body cannot make collagen without adequate lysine. Wheat provides inadequate lysine. Buckwheat provides abundant lysine. The glycemic index of buckwheat measures 54. This classifies as low glycemic. Blood sugar rises slowly after buckwheat consumption. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology in 2016 reviewed 23 studies on buckwheat and blood glucose. The pooled analysis showed 19% reduction in blood glucose levels among buckwheat consumers compared to wheat consumers, 19%, without medication. From food, the same meta-analysis documented cardiovascular benefits. Serum cholesterol dropped by 26% in buckwheat-consuming populations. The mechanism involves both rutin and other flavonoids, including quercetin and orientin. These compounds work synergistically. Isolated supplements cannot replicate the complexity of whole food chemistry. Research published in Circulation in 2008 identified another mechanism. Rutin inhibits an enzyme called protein disulfide isomerase, often abbreviated PDI. PDI is required for blood clot formation. Excessive clotting causes strokes and heart attacks. Rutin provides natural anticoagulation without the bleeding risks of pharmaceutical blood thinners. Russian physicians in the 1700s observed reduced cardiovascular disease without understanding why. Modern research explains their observations. You can access these benefits starting today. Buckwheat is available in multiple forms. Whole groats are the intact seeds with the hulls removed. Kasha is groats that have been toasted before packaging. The toasting adds nutty flavor but reduces some routine content through heat exposure. Green buckwheat is raw, untoasted groats with maximum routine preservation. Buckwheat flour works in pancakes, crepes, and quick breads. It will not make risen loaves alone, but it combines well with other flours. Soba noodles provide buckwheat in a convenient form, so read labels carefully. Many commercial soba noodles contain mostly wheat flour, with small percentages of buckwheat. Look for full buckwheat soba or Niju Wari soba for full benefits. The 3-day protocol is simple. In the morning, cook buckwheat groats as porridge with berries and seeds. The berries add vitamin C, which enhances rutin absorption. For lunch, have soba noodles with vegetables and a protein. The traditional Japanese preparation includes dipping sauce and wasabi. For dinner, serve buckwheat groats as a side dish replacing rice or wheat. Consistency matters more than quantity. 1 serving daily helps maintain tissue accumulation of rutin. The 72-hour window that researchers documented reflects initial accumulation. Ongoing consumption maintains protective levels. You are not taking a supplement. You are building food infrastructure. Growing buckwheat requires minimal expertise. The plant tolerates poor soil that other crops reject. It actually improves soil through its root action, making it an excellent cover crop for gardens. Plant seeds directly in the soil after the last frost. Scatter thickly. Buckwheat germinates within days. The dense growth crowds out weeds without herbicides. 70 to 90 days after planting, the plants produce small white flowers. Bees love buckwheat flowers. If you keep bees or want to support wild pollinators, buckwheat provides excellent forage. After flowering, seeds develop within their papery hulls. Let plants dry in the field. Harvest by cutting stalks and threshing seeds free. Storage is simple. Whole groats keep for years in cool, dry conditions. Store in airtight containers away from light. Flour should be refrigerated or used within a few months, as the oils can go rancid, but groats last. A 25-pound bag in your pantry represents weeks of meals and complete independence from supplement supply chains. The price comparison reveals the absurdity of the current system. Buckwheat groats cost roughly $2 to $3 per pound in bulk. A collagen supplement providing similar skin support costs $30 to $50 for a 1-month supply. The supplement requires industrial processing, global shipping, and retail markup. The buckwheat requires a pot and 20 minutes. Let me return to where we started. There is a plant that rebuilds collagen in 72 hours. This is not marketing. This is peer-reviewed research published in indexed journals. The mechanism is rutin inhibition of matrix metalloproteinases. The effect is increased collagen synthesis and decreased collagen degradation. The timeline is 72 hours for tissue accumulation. This plant contains 200 times more rutin than any true grain. This is not exaggeration. This is laboratory analysis published in agricultural chemistry journals. The concentrations in tartary buckwheat approach 1,700 milligrams per 100 grams. No other common food comes close. 8,000 years of human cultivation documented the benefits. Chinese physicians recorded skin restoration in the 1500s. Russian physicians observed cardiovascular protection in the 1700s. Japanese monks noticed maintained skin elasticity across lifetimes. The observations came from different continents in different centuries. They converged on the same conclusion. 3 billion people eat buckwheat today. Russia remains the world's largest producer. China and Ukraine and Kazakhstan produce millions of tons annually. Japan imports buckwheat to meet demand that domestic production cannot satisfy. The plant never disappeared. It simply disappeared from Western consciousness. The erasure happened through economics, not conspiracy. Wheat made money for seed companies and pesticide makers and bread factories. Buckwheat made money for no one but the people who ate it. The research funding followed the money. The nutrition education followed the research. The public understanding followed the education. 3 generations grew up without ever learning that the highest concentration of collagen-protecting compounds existed in a food they could grow in their backyard. You know now. You know that buckwheat is not wheat. You know that rutin inhibits the enzymes that destroy your collagen. You know that 72 hours of consistent consumption builds tissue concentrations. You know that the research exists, published and indexed and available. You know that the ancient observations were correct. Buckwheat does not need rehabilitation. It thrived for 8,000 years without Western approval. It will thrive for 8,000 more. The question is not whether buckwheat works. The science confirms it works. The question is who benefits when you do not know. Now you know. Walk into any supplement store today. The shelves display bottles of Lion's Mane capsules priced at $40 for a 30-day supply. The labels promise cognitive enhancement. They promise mental clarity. They promise neuroprotection. Customers pay $480 per year trusting these claims. They never question whether another option exists. In Tokyo, elderly Japanese grandmothers walk past these same supplements without a glance. They know something Western consumers do not. They call this mushroom Yamabushitake. The name translates to mountain priest mushroom. For over 1,000 years, Shaolin monks and Buddhist practitioners consumed this fungus before extended meditation sessions. They reported enhanced concentration. They reported mental clarity lasting hours. They recorded these observations in texts that Western researchers never translated. In China, the mushroom carries a different name. Hu Tu Gu means monkey head mushroom. The cascading white spines resemble the face of a macaque. Chinese physicians documented its properties in the Bencao Gang Mu, the Great Compendium of Materia Medica, completed in 1578 by Li Shizhen. This encyclopedia required 27 years to write. It cataloged nearly 2,000 medicinal substances. Lion's Mane appears in its pages with specific notes about calming the mind and strengthening the gut. 450 years ago, Chinese medicine already understood the gut-brain connection that Western science only recently discovered. The monks were not guessing. They observed effects across generations of practitioners. They refined dosing through centuries of experimentation. They passed knowledge through lineages of teachers and students. This was empirical medicine developed over timescales that modern clinical trials cannot match. 1,000 years of human observation preceded the first laboratory study. In 2009, a Japanese researcher named Koichiro Mori published findings that changed everything. His team conducted a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, the gold standard of medical research. They recruited 30 adults between 50 and 80 years old, all diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. Half received Lion's Mane powder, half received placebo. Neither group knew which they consumed. The results appeared in Phytotherapy Research, a peer-reviewed scientific journal. Cognitive function scores improved significantly in the Lion's Mane group. The improvements increased steadily over 16 weeks of supplementation. Week 4 showed measurable gains. Week 8 showed greater gains. Week 12 showed greater still. Week 16 showed the highest improvement of all. Then the researchers stopped supplementation. They continued measuring. Within 4 weeks, the cognitive gains disappeared. The scores returned to baseline. The implication was clear. The compounds required continuous intake. The brain responded to the ongoing presence of the mushroom. Remove the mushroom, remove the benefit. But what compounds cause these effects? A scientist named Hirokazu Kawagishi had already answered this question 15 years earlier. In 1994, he published research in the journal Tetrahedron identifying specific molecules in Lion's Mane. He named them hericenones, found in the fruiting body. He named them erinacines, found in the mycelium. Both compound families share a remarkable property. They stimulate production of nerve growth factor. Nerve growth factor is a protein your brain produces to maintain and regenerate neurons. As humans age, nerve growth factor production declines. This decline correlates with cognitive deterioration. Pharmaceutical companies recognized the therapeutic potential immediately. If a drug could increase nerve growth factor, it might slow or reverse cognitive aging. It might treat Alzheimer's disease. It might repair brain injuries. The problem is delivery. Most compounds cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. This protective membrane prevents substances in the bloodstream from entering brain tissue. It blocks toxins. It also blocks most drugs. Pharmaceutical researchers spent billions trying to design molecules that could penetrate this barrier and stimulate nerve growth factor production. Kawagishi's research revealed that hericenones and erinacines cross the blood-brain barrier naturally. A mushroom that grows on dead trees accomplishes what pharmaceutical laboratories could not engineer. The compounds enter the brain. They stimulate nerve growth factor synthesis. They promote neurogenesis, new brain cells growing from a fungus that monks ate a millennium ago. In 2013, researchers at the University of Malaya published additional findings. They studied rats with crush injuries to peripheral nerves. One group received lion's mane extract. One group received standard treatment. The lion's mane group showed nerve regeneration rates approximately 30% faster than controls. The study appeared in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry. Damaged nerves healed faster because of a mushroom. Another study documented effects on mood. Mori conducted additional research with menopausal women experiencing depression and anxiety. After 4 weeks consuming lion's mane cookies, the women reported significant reductions in both conditions. The results appeared in Biomedical Research in 2008. The monks who reported calm and clarity after consuming yamabushitake were not experiencing placebo effects. They were experiencing hericinonas and aranacines crossing the blood-brain barrier. Here is the situation in 2026. The global nootropic supplement market exceeds $14 billion annually. Lion's mane products represent one of the fastest-growing segments. Consumers pay premium prices for capsules containing dried mushroom powder or concentrated extracts. They trust labels claiming standardized percentages of active compounds. They have no way to verify these claims. They have no alternative. They keep purchasing month after month. Except they do have an alternative. The same mushroom grows readily on substrates available for free in every city in America. The same compounds develop in mushrooms cultivated by complete beginners. The same brain benefits come from fungi grown in 5-gallon buckets, kept in closets, basements, and spare rooms. The substrate that makes this possible is coffee grounds. Americans generate 6 million tons of spent coffee grounds every year. Most of this enters landfills. A single coffee shop produces 10 to 20 pounds of grounds per day. These grounds contain everything lion's mane needs to grow. The science explains why. Mushrooms require specific ratios of carbon to nitrogen in their growing medium. Coffee grounds after brewing contain approximately 2% nitrogen by dry weight. This falls within the ideal range for Hericium species. The brewing process also partially sterilizes the grounds. Water at near boiling temperatures kills most competing organisms. You receive a pre-processed substrate at no cost. Traditional lion's mane cultivation uses hardwood sawdust or wood chips. Those materials must be purchased, processed, and pasteurized to kill contaminants. Coffee grounds arrive already processed by the brewing method and coffee shop labor. You simply collect and use them. One food-grade 5-gallon bucket with lid. These cost approximately $5 at hardware stores or come free from restaurants disposing of food containers. A drill with a 1/4-inch bit. Lion's mane spawn, the mushroom equivalent of seed. Spawn costs $15 to $25 from online suppliers and inoculates multiple buckets. Fresh spent coffee grounds collected the same day when possible. Start by drilling holes in the bucket. Space them approximately 4 inches apart around the sides and bottom. These holes allow air exchange. Lion's mane mycelium requires oxygen to colonize the substrate. Without holes, anaerobic conditions develop and contamination follows. Collect grounds from local coffee shops. Ask in the morning when fresh batches become available. Tell them you are using the grounds for gardening. Most shops give them freely, grateful to reduce their waste disposal. Bring a clean container. Transport the grounds home immediately. If you cannot use them within 4 hours, refrigerate until ready. The mixing ratio is 10 to 20% spawn to grounds by volume. For a 5-gallon bucket, use approximately 1 quart of spawn to 4 gallons of grounds. Mix thoroughly with clean hands or a sanitized utensil. Distribution matters. Spawn scattered evenly through the substrate colonizes faster than spawn clumped in one location. Layer the mixture into the bucket. Press gently to eliminate large air pockets, but do not compact tightly. The mycelium needs space to breathe. Fill to within 2 inches of the rim. Place the lid loosely on top. Complete sealing prevents necessary gas exchange. Position the bucket in a location with stable temperatures between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. A closet works, a basement works, a spare room works. Avoid direct sunlight during colonization. Avoid temperature fluctuations and avoid drafty locations. Keep the location stable. Now you wait. The mycelium begins growing immediately but remains invisible at first. Within 5 to 7 days, white thread-like growth appears on the substrate surface. This is healthy colonization. The white spreads over the following weeks, eventually covering all visible grounds. Watch for colors other than white. Green indicates mold contamination, usually trichoderma. Black indicates bacterial contamination. Orange or pink suggest other fungal competitors. If contamination appears in small patches during early colonization, the lion's mane mycelium may outcompete it. If contamination spreads rapidly or covers more than 20% of the surface, discard the batch and start over with fresh materials and better sanitation. Monitor contamination closely. Full colonization takes 2 to 4 weeks depending on temperature and spawn vitality. The substrate transforms from dark brown coffee grounds to white fungal mass. When no uncolonized grounds remain visible, the bucket is ready for fruiting. Fruiting requires different conditions than colonization. The mycelium must receive signals that trigger mushroom formation. These signals include increased humidity, fresh air exchange, light exposure, and a slight temperature reduction. Humidity should reach 85 to 95% around the developing mushrooms. Create this by misting the bucket several times daily or by constructing a humidity tent from clear plastic. Fresh air becomes critical. Carbon dioxide accumulates in still air and prevents proper fruiting. Open the growing area to air circulation or use a small fan on low setting. Light triggers pinning, the formation of tiny mushroom initials. Indirect natural light works. A fluorescent bulb or an LED bulb works. 12 hours of light followed by 12 hours of darkness mimics natural conditions. Direct sunlight is unnecessary, and it may cause overheating. Reduce temperature by 5 to 10 degrees from colonization conditions. This drop signals autumn conditions to the mycelium. The combination of humidity, air, light, and temperature reduction tells the fungal organism that conditions favor reproduction, and it responds by producing mushrooms. Pins appear as small white bumps emerging from the holes you drilled. These bumps enlarge daily. Within 7 to 10 days of pinning, recognizable lion's mane clusters develop. The cascading white spines grow longer. The mushrooms reach harvest size when spines elongate to 1 centimeter or more, but before they begin yellowing. Harvest by cutting cleanly at the base with a sharp knife. Leave no stump. Residual tissue can rot and invite contamination. A single bucket produces 4 to 8 ounces of fresh mushroom in the first flush. After harvest, the substrate rests. Maintain humidity, but reduce misting frequency. Within 7 to 14 days, new pins emerge from the same holes or from new locations. This second flush often equals or exceeds the first in total weight. A third flush typically follows. Total yield across all flushes reaches 1 to 2 pounds per bucket. Fresh lion's mane sells at farmers markets for $20 to $30 per pound. Dried lion's mane commands $150 to $300 per pound. A single bucket producing 1.5 pounds represents $45 in fresh value or over $200 in dried value. The bucket costs $5. The spawn cost distributed across multiple buckets comes to perhaps $3. The coffee grounds cost nothing. Now consider the supplement comparison. A $40 bottle provides 1 month of capsules containing dried mushroom powder. Extraction efficiency is unknown. Storage age is unknown. Original mushroom quality is unknown. 12 months of supplementation costs $480. 1 bucket produces enough fresh mushrooms to equal months of supplementation. The compounds are at peak potency. You harvested them yourself. You control every variable. 10 buckets in rotation produce continuous harvest throughout the year. Your annual cost falls below $50. Your annual value exceeds $500. Your annual supplement expense drops to $0. Why does no one know this? The question answers itself when you examine the economics. A bucket cannot be patented. Coffee grounds cannot be trademarked. Spawn is living biological material with limited intellectual property protection. Growing instructions are ancient knowledge in the public domain. Every dollar you spend on supplements flows to companies that benefit from your continued purchasing. Every bucket you inoculate eliminates that revenue stream. The structures that fund research and marketing have no interest in publicizing methods that make their products unnecessary. Research funding follows patent potential. Pharmaceutical companies fund studies on synthesized compounds they can protect. They do not fund studies on cultivation techniques that anyone can replicate. Academic researchers pursue grants from available sources. The sources favor interventions that generate returns on investment. Search PubMed for lion's mane supplement studies. You find hundreds of results. Search for lion's mane home cultivation studies. You find almost nothing. The gap does not reflect scientific merit. It reflects economic incentives. Knowledge that generates profit gets funded, published, and disseminated. Knowledge that threatens profit remains obscure. The pattern repeats across multiple domains. Fish oil supplements generate $4 billion annually. Perilla, a plant with higher omega-3 content that self-seeds in backyards, remains virtually unknown in Western markets. The profitable option receives marketing. The free option receives silence. Traditional cultivation knowledge developed in Asian farming communities over generations. Japanese growers refined techniques through decades of practice. They published in Japanese. Korean cultivators documented methods in Korean. Chinese agricultural stations recorded findings in Mandarin. Translation into English occurred slowly, if at all. Paul Stamets, the American mycologist, helped popularize home mushroom cultivation starting in the 1980s. His books reached Western audiences. His Spawn company made starting materials accessible, but mainstream awareness remained limited. Mushroom growing retained an aura of difficulty and strangeness that kept most people purchasing rather than producing. That perception is changing. Urban farming movements rediscovered these methods. Social media spread cultivation tutorials. Young people frustrated with food system costs sought alternatives. The bucket method requires no special skills, no agricultural background, no scientific training, only the willingness to try something your grandfather never imagined. Imagine 10 buckets arranged along a basement wall. Stagger the inoculation dates by 2 weeks. When bucket 1 finishes its third flush, bucket 2 enters its second. When bucket 3 starts pinning, bucket 4 completes colonization. The rotation produces fresh harvests every 2 weeks, indefinitely. Scale further. Learn to expand your own spawn. Successful colonized substrate can inoculate grain jars. Those grain jars can inoculate 10 more buckets. Your initial spawn purchase multiplies across seasons. Your dependency on suppliers decreases to 0. Share spawn with neighbors. Teach the method to family members. A gift economy develops around living material that reproduces itself. A supplement company cannot compete with a neighbor who hands you a jar of grain spawn and says, "Here, try this." Every bucket represents independence from supply chains. Every harvest represents knowledge that cannot be recalled. Clinical trials proved what the monks knew centuries ago. The cultivation techniques require only waste materials, basic equipment, and patience. The compounds still cross the blood-brain barrier. The nerve growth factor still gets produced. The cognitive benefits documented in peer-reviewed journals still manifest. The only difference is the source. Capsules from a bottle or mushrooms from a bucket you maintain yourself. The choice is yours. Pay $500 per year, trusting labels you cannot verify. Or spend $50 once and harvest brain-regenerating fungi every 2 weeks for as long as you choose to continue. The monastery medicine never disappeared. It waited in Buddhist temples, Japanese forests, and Chinese medicine cabinets. It waited for someone to explain that the methods are simple, the materials are free, and the knowledge belongs to everyone willing to learn. Now you know. The mushroom that pharmaceutical companies cannot synthesize grows on coffee grounds in 5-gallon buckets. The brain benefits documented in clinical trials develop in fungi you can harvest in your own home. The 1,000-year tradition continues in your hands.
5 plants eaten daily by billions of people across dozens of countries say otherwise. The knowledge was never lost, it was never secret. The question is whether you are willing to see it now.